Ladies and gentlemen, the Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transition will begin soon. We are providing Korean-English simultaneous interpretation. With the receiver that is placed on your desk, fix it to channel 1 for Korean and 2 for English. Please do not forget to leave it on the table on your way out. Please note that today's forum is also being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded later on the YouTube channel of the UNDP Seoul Policy Center. Before we begin today's event, I would like to note that this forum has been organized in line with environmentally responsible and sustainability-focused event principles. In alignment with the spirit of the Sustainable Development Goals, the UNDP Seoul Policy Center has implemented measures such as minimizing paper use, prioritizing reusable or eco-friendly materials, and promoting efficient energy consumption throughout the events. As part of this effort, no printed materials are being provided today. Please scan the QR code displayed on the screen if you would like to access the agenda. We kindly invite all participants to join us in keeping today's forum low waste by using digital materials, limiting disposable items, and using reusable bottles or cups whenever possible. Thank you for contributing to a more sustainable event experience. Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to the Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transitions, marking the 10th anniversary of SDG 7, Energy Access for All. My name is Yoon Choi, and I work as a Green Recovery and Transition intern at UNDP Seoul Policy Center. It will be my honor to serve as your MC for today. As part of Development Week 2025, the Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transitions is organized by UNDP Seoul Policy Center with the support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and the Office for Government Policy Coordination of the Republic of Korea. Building on the foundational objectives of SDG 7, this event seeks to advance universal energy access by exploring practical approaches to advancing energy efficiency, strengthening energy infrastructure, promoting gender-responsive and inclusive policies, and examine their broader implication for sustainable development. With participation from diverse experts across the energy sector, the forum provides a valuable platform to assess progress, exchange insights, and collectively shape strategies toward a fair, inclusive, and sustainable energy future for all. Without further ado, we will officially start the opening ceremony with remarks from UNDP Seoul Policy Center and UNDP Sustainable Energy Hub. First, I would like to invite Dr. Juepner, Director of the UNDP Seoul Policy Center, to make her welcome remarks. Please give her a warm round of applause.
Honorable guests, distinguished speakers, dear colleagues and friends, good morning and welcome to the Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transitions, held as part of the Development Cooperation Week 2025. First of all, allow me to extend my sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and the Office for Government Policy Coordination of the Republic of Korea for their support in making today's forum possible. This year marks 10 years since the adoption of Sustainable Development Goal 7, a goal that is central to human development, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Over the past decade, the world has made meaningful progress in terms of energy access. Yet, today, 666 million people still live without electricity, and millions more lack reliable modern energy services. These gaps deepen inequality and limit opportunities, especially for women and the youth. Achieving SDG 7 is therefore not only an energy challenge. It is a foundation for economic development, but also for climate action, health, education, livelihoods, and gender equality. With the quickly reducing costs of solar and wind energy and the multiple job opportunities brought about by the energy transition, it is not only possible but essential to pursue both, expanding energy access as well as addressing climate change. Clean, low-carbon, inclusive, and sustainable energy systems can lift people out of poverty, reduce emissions, and drive prosperity at the same time. The Republic of Korea's experience offers an important example of this integrated approach. Over the past decades, Korea has expanded energy access nationwide while rapidly improving energy efficiency, deploying cleaner technologies, and building strong institutions that support sustainable energy management. Last week, during the COP30 in Belem, the Republic of Korea confirmed and deepened its strong commitment for a sustainable energy transition by joining the Powering Past Coal Alliance, thereby pledging to stop building new unabated coal power plants and to phase out all its existing unabated coal power plants. In its updated nationally determined contribution, also released during COP30, Korea pledged to further expand renewable energy in its power sector. Korea's efforts in smart grids, efficient buildings, renewable energy deployment, and gender-responsive development cooperation provide valuable lessons for partner countries pursuing SDG 7. The United Nations Development Programme is proud to support this global effort. Across 131 countries, UNDP is currently implementing more than 390 sustainable energy initiatives, helping over 82 million people to gain direct access to clean energy. Through our global network of partners, we work to ensure that the lessons learned here in the Republic of Korea can translate into tangible progress for communities around the world. In this context, the UNDP Seoul Policy Center plays a supportive role in connecting Korea's innovative and practical know-how with partner countries' needs and demands. By identifying scalable solutions and enhancing capacities, we support inclusive and sustainable energy transitions globally. Today's forum reflects that commitment. With thanks to our partners from the AOK and abroad, we will explore policies and innovations that can scale up sustainable energy access and strategies to ensure that the energy transition is inclusive and gender responsive, leaving no one behind. Excellencies and colleagues, SDG 7 will not be achieved through technology alone. It requires political will, partnerships, financing, and just and inclusive governance. It requires placing people, especially women, youth, and vulnerable groups, at the center of the transition. And it requires knowledge sharing, peer learning, and cooperation across regions and sectors. With events such as the one we are organizing today, we can jointly catalyze Korea's experience into practical pathways that help partner countries accelerate SDG 7, close energy access gaps, and build more resilient and inclusive societies. Thank you all for being here. Kamsahamnida, and I wish all of us productive and inspiring discussions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Juepner, for your insightful remarks. Next, we'll now have the honor to hear opening remarks from Mr. Riad Meddeb, Director of the UNDP Sustainable Energy Hub, who joined us online.
Annyeonghaseyo, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I wish I could be with you in person today, and it is an honor to speak with you all, especially given the valuable partnership between UNDP and the Republic of Korea, whose continued support has expanded UNDP's work and enabled us to reach communities across the world, showing us that when partnerships align with purpose, lives change. We are here today to explore how innovative technologies, inclusive policies, and international cooperation can accelerate SDG 7, and with it, development itself. SDG 7 may focus on access and clean energy, but its impact is far broader, advancing gender equality, reducing poverty, strengthening health and water system, expanding economies, and driving climate action. And as we mark 10 years, we should pause to recognize what determination and coordination has delivered. And in 2015, 1.1 billion people lived without electricity. Today, that number has fallen to 666 million, meaning 430 million people gain access, 430 million people in 10 years. However, while Asia has achieved major gains, from 516 million lacking access in 2010 to 64 million today, sub-Saharan Africa saw only marginal improvement, from 591 million to 583 million. Out of the 20 countries accounting for 75% of the global access deficit, 18 are in sub-Saharan Africa. And access gaps extend beyond electricity. Clean cooking access rose from 64% to 74% of the global population over the past decade. Yet, at the current pace, only 78% will have access by 2030, leaving hundreds of millions exposed to health and economic burdens. Renewables are accelerating. In 2025, renewable electricity generation surpassed coal for the first time, but to meet the COP28 target of tripling capacity by 2030, annual additions still need to more than double, and global energy efficiency gain must almost double this decade to stay on track. These disparities are reflected in financing, and in 2024, energy transition investment reached $2.4 trillion USD, including 807 billion for renewable, a record high. But most of this capital still flow to advanced economies. And although the COP30 committed to mobilizing 1.3 trillion USD annually by 2035, the omission of language on transitioning away from fossil fuel set a worrying precedent. Ladies and gentlemen, with the stark disparities in mind, how can we deliver a truly just energy transition in the places that need it most? How do we ensure that global momentum does not mask growing regional inequities? Ladies and gentlemen, even when electricity is available, unaffordability and low efficiency remain barriers. At least 1.18 billion people are energy poor or unable to meaningfully use electricity they technically have access to. So energy deprivation is also closely linked to multidimensional poverty. 1.1 billion people face overlapping deprivations, and 887 million people who are poor are exposed to at least one major climate hazard: heat, drought, flood, or air pollution, creating one of the largest energy-related deficits worldwide, and a laid burden that energy system must be designed to withstand. This highlights a deeper challenge. Access without affordability is not access at all. The burden of global energy prices on households shows that emerging and developing economies are hit harder than advanced economies, especially during crises and market volatilities. In Lebanon, where the state power grid is unable to provide consistent electricity, the average family spends up to 44% of their income on diesel generator bills and twice that for lower income families. We know that clean energy is not just a climate issue, it is a human development issue. In Mongolia, where 85% of electricity comes from coal, winter air pollution drives a 3.5 times higher risk of fatal losses for pregnant women compared to summer months. Ladies and gentlemen, meanwhile, global electricity demand is expected to rise significantly, driven not only by electrification, but also by the rapid expansion of data centers and AI, placing new pressure on grid and prices, especially in developing economies. And these realities remind us why SDG 7 is not optional. It is essential for health, for dignity, and for the future generations. With COP30 behind us in Belém, we have seen ambition, but ambition without acceleration will not deliver. Despite renewable being more affordable than fossil fuel for the second year in a row, energy transition investment remain far below the $5 to $6 trillion per year required this decade, and an annual fossil fuel investment still exceed $1 trillion, more than the global investment in renewable grids and storage combined. Why do communities still fall into energy poverty? Why do structural barriers from financing, governance to data gaps continue to slow progress despite technological readiness? I want to highlight, ladies and gentlemen, 3 points. My first point, improve local geospatial data informed policy, reduces investment risk, and shift finance from project to pipelines. How can local data and geographic information system help us target who needs what and where? Data does not more than inform energy planning. It directly informs policies, reduce risk for investors, and help achieve the last mile of closing the energy gap. With clearer geospatial and socio-economic information, government and partner can incorporate energy access to hard-to-reach areas, such as addressing energy poverty on a local level through targeted subsidies. And this matters. In West Balkan, 26% of electricity subsidies go to the richest 20%, while the poorest 20% of the population receive just 14%. In Ghana, fossil fuel subsidies benefit richer households 3 times more than the poorer ones. Meanwhile, only a tiny fraction of the global renewable energy investment reaches regions where it most urgently needs, some receiving a little as 2% of the global flows. Investment in grid and storage remain more than $1 trillion below what is needed every year. So better local data also allow financiers to make reliable assess demand, social impact, and project viability, informing financial structures like blended finance instrument, concessional loans, and grant that unlock, not substitute, private investment. For example, UNDP, in partnership with IBM, developed the Clean Energy Equity Index, which brings together geospatial analytics with environmental, economic, and social indicators to better assess gaps in energy access and inform policy making and future investment. By including data on income, employment, gender, and community impact, we can design policies that protect the vulnerable rather than unintentionally widen inequality. Because in an energy transition that deepens inequality is not a transition, it is a setback. Secondly, digitalization drives energy efficiency and strengthens energy resilience. And reliable power grid in developing economies could cause $1.3 trillion in lost output by 2030. Around 60% of the global energy production remain inefficient, with grid losses responsible for nearly 1 gigaton of CO2 annually. But digitalization works It is the multiplier that turns infrastructure into impact. Geospatial data, AI-enabled grid forecasting, and digital monitoring help countries see where outages are emerging, where losses are highest, and where investment delivers the greatest return. Smart grid have reduced losses, improved efficiency, and cut emissions. Let me give you a few examples. In Kenya, smart meters and digital monitoring reduces losses by 8.5% in 1 year. 1 year. In Chile, digital substation automation lowered outage duration by nearly 20% in solar dominant regions. And here in Korea, the Juju Smart Grid test bed and with KEPCO Smart Grid station system, which cut building energy use by about 10% and peak demand by 5%, delivering measurable CO2 and cost reductions. These are not future scenarios. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, they are a result of today's action. But digitalization also brings new vulnerabilities, cybersecurity risk, exposure to extreme weather event, and dependence on critical minerals that are overwhelmingly refined in a single market, creating concentrated risk for the global energy system. Between 2023 and 2024, critical infrastructure, including energy utilities, faced 420 million cyber attacks globally. And that is why UNDP latest work on energy, digital, and anti-corruptions focuses on expanding digital access while strengthening transparency, accountability, and trust. Thirdly, expanding human capital is the base for a just energy transition. If we are serious about meeting SDG 7 in the decade ahead, we must face a simple truth. The energy transition is fundamentally a people's transition. In 2023, renewables supported 16.2 million jobs, up from 13.7 million the year before, and could reach 38 million by 2030. But while jobs are growing at 9% annually, skilled workers are growing at only 5%. By 2030, we risk a deficit of 7 million workers with the technical and digital expertise required to keep the transition on track. Africa illustrates both a challenge and an opportunity. At the continent holds 30% of global critical minerals, yet only 2% remain in African market and local processing remain limited. What if mineral strategies fully align with development strategies, linking extraction to local value chains, workforce training, and regional manufacturing? Many countries are now requiring investment projects to deliver technology transfer, skill development, and long-term employment. Digital technology can accelerate the shift if deployed wisely. AI-enabled tools such as the UNDP Sustainable Energy Digital Intelligence Platform bring geospatial analytics, forecasting, and on-demand training directly to local institutions. Yet the stakes are rising. Global energy demand could increase by 50% by 2040 if current trends continue. Some regions already face GDP's losses of 3 to 7% annually due to climate impact, and adaptation financing need to exceed $200 billion. If digital and AI-driven tools remain unevenly accessible, the global skills divide will deepen even further. But if we invest in people, with data, digital training, and policies that build local value, the clean energy transition becomes more than a technological shift. It becomes a development pathway grounded in dignity, opportunity, and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, aligned with these three themes, I leave you with three questions. Are we directing capital to the region where clean energy can unlock development gains, not just financial returns? Today, only a modest share of global energy transition finance reaches the economies where access deficits are the largest. Are we building energy systems that are resilient, inclusive, and sustainable? Not only grid and megawatt, but institutions, skills, and digital capacities. And are we prepared to measure success, not only in installed capacity, but in lives improved? in women's economic participation, in youth employment, in climate resilience, and in community dignity? And if we can answer yes to this question in the years ahead, then SDG 7 will not just be achievable, it will be transformative. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Mr. Meddeb for his wonderful remarks. To commemorate this gathering, we would like to take a group photo with all the speakers. We kindly invite all speakers to come forward and join us on stage. With this, we'll conclude the opening ceremony. We would like to express our gratitude to all the speakers for their valuable insights, as well as to all the participants for their attentive listening. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now begin Panel 1, Scaling Up Energy Access for Development. This session will explore practical strategies to expand energy access in partner countries by improving energy efficiency, strengthening power system, and leveraging international cooperation. To guide us through this important discussion, it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator for Panel 1, Mr. Arnaud Debauge, Green Recovery and Transition Policy Specialist at the UNDP Seoul Policy Center. Please join me in welcoming him with a warm round of applause as we begin Panel 1. Let's also have our panelists come to the stage. Mr. Kil-Hwan Kim, Team Manager at the Korea Energy Agency, Professor Suh-Yong from Korea University, Mr. Yong-Sung Park, General Manager at Korea Electric Power Corporation, and Ms. Nicole Chow, Procurement Analyst at UNDP Afghanistan, joining us online. Please come forward to the stage.
Thank you very much, Hyun. So, dear colleagues and friends, it's a great pleasure to be moderating this panel for the Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transition. Our first panel today will focus on how to scale up energy access, and we'll look at three things. We'll look at policies, we'll look at innovation and cooperation. So, for our panel, I'm really delighted to have such a wonderful guests today who will join me with the different policy discussions today. I'm really glad to have Mr. Kil-Hwan Kim from Korea Energy Agency, and you are a team manager and working on the Energy Consulting Division of KEA. I'm also delighted to have Professor Suh-Yong from Korea University, who is a good friend of ours because we participate in many projects and many events. And also really honored to have Mr. Yong-Sung Park, the General Manager of the Global Business Department of KEPCO's Korea Electric Power Corporation. And I'm also really honored and grateful to have Ms. Nicole Cho, who joins us from Kabul and who is working as procurement analyst in UNDP Afghanistan. With this, I would like to directly jump to the first question of the panel and turn myself towards Mr. Kil-Hwan Kim from Korea Energy Agency. Mr. Kim, you have over 25 years experience in energy auditing, inspection, and energy policy implementation. You have worked on energy projects in many countries, such as Uzbekistan and Vietnam. And today, during the keynote presentation, we focused on energy access, but our UNDP Sustainable Energy Director definitely mentioned also energy efficiency. And as you were saying, energy efficiency improvements can significantly reduce energy cost and extend the reach of the existing power system. Could you please share with us how the Republic of Korea's energy diagnostics and efficiency programs have contributed to improving energy access, and how similar approaches could support partner countries with limited grid capacity? Thank you, and over to you.
It's a great honor to be invited for this forum. And 제가 말씀드릴 부분은 이제 에너지 전환.
Today, I'm going to talk about energy transition, but more importantly, I'll be talking about energy efficiency, and also I'll be touching upon the role of energy auditing. So, let me first talk about energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is often referred to as the fifth fuel, a concept that emerged after traditional energy sources such as coal, oil, nuclear power, and renewable energy. So I have just said that the energy efficiency is the fifth fuel, and in order to boost energy efficiency, we need to have energy savings strategies and megawatt strategies. So energy efficiency is very important, and the importance is getting more important these days. And apart from energy efficiency, there's another important concept, which is energy auditing. So if you're sick, we go to hospital and diagnosed by those doctors. So energy audit means that the buildings or the industrial facilities needs to be audited in terms of their energy consumption. And by analyzing the energy consumption patterns, we can provide useful recommendations and insights so that the building or the industry can reduce the consumption of their energy. So this is the first step to increase energy efficiency. Korea has recognized the importance of energy efficiency, and companies that consume more than 2,000 TOE of energy per year are required to report to the government. So 2,000 TOE means about 874 megawatt. And if the company is using more than 2,000 TOE of energy, they are required to report their energy use to the government. And there are about those large consumers of energy in Korea. The number is about 5,000, and among them, roughly 3,800 facilities are mandated to undergo an energy audit every 5 years. Facilities that consume less than 2,000 TOEs are not required to undergo any energy audit. However, for those that wish to receive one, the government provides full financial support for the audit costs. So in the beginning, the energy audit only focused on identifying the energy consumption patterns, but nowadays there is the climate crisis, and we need to respond to credit taxes, and there's also the rising concept of renewable energy. So nowadays, the energy audit encompasses all these important issues that is happening around us. Energy audit is done on industry, industrial facilities, and buildings. So it means that the heat generating equipment, heat transport system, heat using equipment, power distribution systems, mechanical power systems, electric heating, and lighting systems are all the subject of energy audit. In the building sector, audits include building envelopes, heating and hot water systems, cooling and HVAC systems, power distribution systems, mechanical power systems, and lighting systems. Based on the audit findings, various efficiency improvement measures may be proposed, such as introducing high-efficiency equipment, recovering waste heat, and optimizing industrial processes. So this is what we're doing in Korea, and now let me talk about what is happening in developing countries. Developing countries are experiencing a rapid increase in energy demand, particularly electricity demand, due to industrialization and rising living standards. However, they do not have enough power plants and inadequate transmission and distribution networks. This is why so many households are experiencing electricity outages, and they do not have enough energy and power to carry on their daily lives. And because efforts are often focused primarily on expanding the quantity of energy supply, attention to energy efficiency tends to be lower than in developed countries, and related policies and technological infrastructure remain underdeveloped. And also at the same time, there is a problem of rising air pollution. So what can you do for those developing countries? First is to have enough energy infrastructure. And we also need to help them develop clean energy facilities. Also, distributed energy systems such as standalone solar power units can rapidly improve energy access in regions with limited grid connectivity. Introducing energy efficiency technologies, strengthening policy support, and providing ODA play a critical role in helping developing countries establish sustainable energy systems. And let me talk about the role of energy audits. Energy audits help raise awareness of the importance of improving energy efficiency in industrial facilities and buildings in developing countries. To date, countries that have received audit support through ODA projects include Vietnam, Laos, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Uzbekistan, Peru, Bolivia, Mongolia, and Maldives. In addition to conducting audits, recent efforts include providing training on energy audit techniques, collaborating with local audit institutions through joint audits, and revising training curricula to enhance the capacity of local organizations. Quite recently, in April this year, training was delivered to energy auditors of Uzbekistan. They are from the Energy Supervisory Agency under the government of Uzbekistan. So 35 staff members received the training. And notably, this initiative was funded not through aid, but through resources allocated by the Uzbekistan government. And the program covered theoretical training, such as Korea's energy audit system, the use of measurement instruments, and audit report preparation, as well as practical training through on-site audits at 2 large energy-consuming facilities in Uzbekistan. Subsequently, at the end of June, a small group of participants was invited to Korea for advanced and hands-on training. And once an MOU is concluded, Korea plans to support energy audits for large energy-consuming facilities in Uzbekistan. At present, energy audit support is primarily provided by the Korea Energy Agency through ODA, and voluntary overseas audit projects by private auditing firms have not yet been actively developed. Although interest in environmental issues and energy savings has grown and demand for audits exists, relying solely on ODA imposes financial limitations that constrain widespread implementations. So that is why we are providing these kind of trainings and audits at a very affordable rate. I believe that we need to be able to help a lot of countries for them to be able to increase energy efficiency, but what is happening quite often is that they do not have enough fund for those projects. So if that is the case, I think we need to help those developing countries to enhance their capacities so that they can carry out audits by themselves. So that is why we are focusing on training and providing education for those auditors in developing countries. So I've been talking about energy audit, energy efficiency projects, and I would be happy to entertain any questions if you have later on. Thank you.
For providing us some an overview of the work of Korea Energy Agency and for highlighting the importance of diagnostic and audits for energy, and also this way to improve energy efficiency in many sectors, such as the building sector. Now let me turn towards Professor Suh-Yong. Professor Chung, you are a professor in the Division of International Studies at Korea University, and you are a leading expert in climate change and energy policy, with a significant focus on international governance, trade, environmental sustainability. You are director of the Center for Global Climate and Marine Governance, and you are also the director of the Center for Climate and Sustainable Development Law and Policy as part of the Seoul International Law Academy. So many thanks for joining us today, Professor Jeong. You are also an expert on the Paris Agreement, and you have a special course at KU on the Paris Agreement, and also know a lot about international treaties and climate and energy sectors. You just came back from COP30, which was held in Belém, Brazil. And my question to you is, what policy tools and instruments would you recommend at the international level to achieve energy access for all while successfully reaching climate objectives? Over to you, Professor.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much to inviting me to this important event today. I know that there are a number of the Korean audience, also foreign audience as well, but it's a part of the UNDP event. I think that I would speak in English if it is allowed, and so that we can better communicate with UNDP and other international potential counterpartners. I've been in the climate change negotiation as part of the Korean delegation since 2007, so I am slowly recognizing I'm getting old. I've become one of the most experienced members of the Korean delegation, and then observing the development of the climate change regime from Kyoto Protocol to Paris Agreement now. To answer the questions that you have posed, I think I need to bring some of the more macro understanding on how we approach this very important issue from the global governance angle. Everybody knows that the United States under the Trump administration decided to withdraw themselves from Paris Agreement. And then in this COP theory, we could recognize that with the vacuum of the lack of participation of U.S. government, and then there were significant shifts from the sort of the global concerted efforts to address climate energy issues to more like fragmented approaches that seems to be necessary. So my first point is that when we used to talk about helping or working together with the developing countries to promote their energy access more in the context of achieving the climate goals, we used to talk about the United Nations in general. But I think we have come to a point where we need to have a more strategic approaches, how we can develop the more efficient way of working together developing countries. In other words, I do strongly recommend that UNDP Seoul Policy Center has a very special function within Republic of Korea. So it's sort of the great chance actually for the UNDP Seoul Policy Center to develop the more like tailored, minilateral cooperation mechanism together with the government of the Republic of Korea in promoting the energy access in developing countries. That will involve several points. Number one, what are the general policy ground through which we can start to talk about the collaboration between the Korean government and UNDP, also together with the potential developing countries' governments. And then, as you may not know, if we read the Paris Agreement, there is only a single article which allows the countries, member countries of the Paris Agreement, to cooperate to implement the NDCs. Do you know what it is? It's Article 6. Article 6 has been known as a lot as a carbon market, but carbon market is a part of the Article 6 regime. Basically, Article 6 was introduced to promote the implement the NDCs between or among the countries, not necessarily between developing and developed countries, but in this context today, developing countries and Republic of Korea, and then we have to use it to a large extent. Of course, to do so, as some of you may know, if you know my work, I've been trying to develop the, sort of the large scale of the implementation framework with the Republic of Korea in targeted or potential partner countries in developing world. And then sometimes at the micro level, you can work on there's a project, as many of you may be familiar with, right? There are different layers. So it's time actually for us to have a more concrete and specialized way of how to address energy access issues from the angle of using the Article 6. As you may not know, in this COP, I think that most of the Korean audience, including the government who were there, still do not know how important China took this as their chance to influence or increase their influence over the issues in the climate world. Maybe some of you may know, but mostly you may not know this. Open Coalition on Compliance Carbon Market Initiative was initiated by the China, Brazil, and European Union, but mostly Korean delegations still don't know. So there are shifting environments that we have to recognize. So my first point, Article 6 focused, maybe developing more tailored cooperation the model. And the question is, what are the programs that we can include? I'm not talking about the sector for now. Of course, we are thinking about the energy sector. But in terms of the programs, we need to include the financing scheme as well. Financing here means not only public financing, but also private. We call it as a blended finance. Which level we have to tackle that. I think what Mr. Kim just summarized can be understood in the context of what kind of technology we can focus on. So technology part can be also very, very important in promoting energy access. Depending on the needs and demands of different countries, there are different programs, of course. So we have identified what are the main technological foundations that the Republic of Korea has strengthened on, whether or not we can develop that plan with good potential partner countries. So I'm mainly interested in the developing country-to-country level of the cooperation. That's what governments and the UNDP can work together. Micro project level will come later once we set out the more macro level of the government level cooperation schemes. So I said financing scheme and then technological schemes, and then of course because we are talking about the partnership with the developing countries, and then the capacity building, including ODA and some other issues needs to be included. So I think first step, even if I can go more and more, will be Article 6 based large scale of the partnership program. There will be, I would suggest, initiated by the UNDP and the Government of the Republic of Korea, so that we can invite good potential governments to work together. Then we can sort things out. So I stop here. Of course, if you have more questions, that I can go to the more details. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chung, and happy that you are highlighting all the potential opportunities offered by the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. And now let me turn towards you, Mr. Yong-Sung Park. You are, as I said, the General Manager of the Global Business Development Team of KEPCO. So many thanks for joining us again. You have over 20 years of working experience. You joined KEPCO in 2003. And you have worked in many partner countries, in many different sets of geographies, including Dominican Republic, Honduras, and the United Arab Emirates, also on energy projects. So many thanks for joining us again. And my first question to you is, KEPCO is playing an important role in expanding energy access in other countries, using grid development, automation systems, and technical capacity. So based on your own experience, what are the key success factors for expanding reliable electricity access in partner countries? Over to you, Mr. Park.
안녕하세요. 한국전력공사 해외사업개발단.
Good morning, everyone. I am Yong-Sung Park, the General Manager of Global Business Department at KEPCO. So let me answer the question you have just asked. In order to expand access, you need to do a lot of things, and we have a track record of successes up until now. And I believe that what is most important in expanding access is to do electrification and to work with the international organizations through IDB and working with many other international organizations. We are providing electrification projects. We receive funds from those international organizations to successfully conduct the project. But what is more important is we need to have a targeted strategies to expand access and to modernize the energy network. In the case of developing countries, their loss rate is very high. So first thing you need to do is to lower the loss rate and then introduce energy efficiency concept. Remote inspection, advanced metering, need to be introduced. Distributed management system is also required, and geographical information system are all required to improve energy efficiency, and you need to have a phased plans to introduce those technologies. In the past, our loss rate was about 30%, but now it has reduced to 3.5%, which is among the lowest in the international arena. And loss rate is one of the indicators how well you are advanced in terms of electrification and energy expansion. So most of the developed countries, the loss rate is about 5%, and for us it is 3.5%. If it goes over 20%, if it stays around 20%, it means you are developing countries. And in the case of less developed countries, the rate goes up to 40%. So I think we can divide the losses into non-technical losses and technical losses. Technical losses requires a lot of funds because you need to build a lot of power plants and substations, and you also need to have stronger, thicker lines to transmit electricity, and also you need highly expensive facilities and equipment. This is why you need a lot of funds and financial support. In the case of non-technical area, there is piperage, which means that you provide electricity free of charge, and also there is metering area, which means that the electricity organization does not have enough technology to correctly meter the electricity usage. So what we're doing is we are trying to correct those metering errors, and we have also developed the solutions to increase, upgrade the voltages. And we are working with IDB and ADB in order to implement those related projects in developing countries. Our customers is around 240 million households and industries. Korea Steel is just one company, but it uses about 10% of all the electricity that is generated in Korea. So if we can manage to manage well those large electricity consumers, then our energy loss rate and our energy efficiency will greatly improved. We are more than ready to work with UNDP in order to reduce energy loss rate in developing countries. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Park, and it's really inspiring to see the decrease of the power loss rate from 30% to 3.5% from 60s to nowadays, and also seeing that the Loss Pro project will take place and be implemented next year. And also many thanks for offering your willingness to cooperate. Now let me turn towards Nicole Cho, who is a procurement officer at UNDP Afghanistan. Nicole, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear. Good morning from Kabul, Arnaud and colleagues.
Thank you, Nicole. Good to see you. Nicole, you have extensive experience in strategic procurement planning and sourcing across development and crisis context. You are now, as I said, in Kabul, Afghanistan, where it's still really early, and many thanks for joining us. Your expertise spans from services to civil works procurement, risk management, supplier relationship management, logistics, and supply chain operations. Before going to UNDP Afghanistan, you were based in Beijing in UNDP China, where I had the pleasure to work with you. As you know, global discussions on SDG 7 often happen in international summits, but implementations happen often in crisis zones like Afghanistan. Using some of the examples of the projects delivered by UNDP Afghanistan Country Office, could you please describe the local challenges that you are facing and some lessons you have drawn when coming to delivering SDG 7 in fragile context? Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Arnaud, and it's really an honor to be here as part of this forum that's very important, talking about SDG 7. Right now in Kabul, as you mentioned, it's early morning, and you can see that there's the role of very heavy, thick smoke that's coming through the atmosphere. That's because that people don't have access to clean energy, and they're still not just burning coal, but also any burnable materials that they can to create energy and to keep warm during the winter. So like you said, SDG looks very different when you implement it in fragile and crisis settings. And when we talk about achieving SDG 7 here in UNDP Afghanistan, I have two projects that comes to mind. One is the ROK-funded Revive project that is in the process of installing 60 emergency solar greenhouses and 30 solar food preservation units, benefiting over 300,000 people in response to the recent returnee crisis of Afghan people from Iran and Pakistan and the recent earthquakes that has struck Afghanistan. And the other project that I was thinking of is the Seseha project in Afghanistan, which is bringing sustainable energy services and renewable energy to health and education sector, public facilities in over 18 provinces and 792 facilities across the country. So talking about local challenges, it's very different on the ground here. And of course, the first challenge is a fragile supply chain market. As all the previous panel members mentioned, those technologies, energy loss, energy efficiencies, that is still a relatively distant future for Afghanistan, because Afghanistan relies almost completely on imported solar equipment, and a single border closure or custom delay, those kind of supply chain challenges and disruptions can stop an entire project for weeks. For example, right now, there is an Afghan-Pakistani-Turkmen border, which is one of our largest border crossings, has been closed for over a month. And this has caused delays not just in materials and goods, but also people are not able to cross freely. So sometimes just the equipment is available and sometimes it simply is not. So it's very different on the ground here in crisis settings, where markets are not mature and is still relatively weak for renewable energy. I would say the second challenge is, of course, security and access, because that almost affects everything that we do here on the ground. One of the examples, as mentioned earlier about the greenhouses and solar fruit preservation units, those are located in 60 different locations and communities across the country. And earlier, there's over 700, close to 800 public facilities in education and health facilities that we are solarizing. These are mostly in very remote districts where we not just are accessing by car, but sometimes even by donkeys, by people, by foot. So it's extremely remote and difficult to reach last mile destinations. So suppliers and our UNDP team cannot always travel quickly, and safety oftentimes is a challenge. Monitoring, installation, simple supply and delivery, those become difficult. So we have to depend on our local communities and beneficiaries and our NGO partners to ensure that this installation progress is ongoing. And also we count them as beneficiaries and end users for these solar systems, to count on them for operation and maintenance. So this obviously adds time and cost and risk to all stages of the activity. And speaking of operation and maintenance, I'm sure all of you who are experts or have experience in the clean energy field, this is a long-term challenge, especially in developing countries and in crisis settings, because it's very easy just to buy and install a solar system, but it's much harder to keep it running for 5, 10, or even 15 years. Sometimes the solar system is there, but the project has ended already, so who is there to maintain it? Many schools and clinics, and as also panels mentioned, they don't have technicians, they don't have the technical capacity on ground. Spare parts, warranties, and all of that maintenance is very difficult to find in the local market to ensure quality and energy efficiency for the system to run smoothly. Budgets, of course, is limited always. So if we don't plan sustainability from day one, systems can fall into disrepair and into problems. So this is why we rely on our communities and people to build their capacity and also to bring in women as gender inclusion and private sector for the sustainable long run. So that's why I would say the biggest lesson, I would say, to working in crisis settings and to ensure our achievement of SDG 7 and human development is to link sustainable energy access to real community needs. That is providing essential services for meeting basic human needs in Afghanistan. These 60 greenhouses, these 30 solar fruit preservation units, and over almost 800 facilities in education and health public facilities is not the end goal, not in Afghanistan, and I hope in the world, because the goal is to build up the infrastructure of clean energy for better education systems, for better health systems, and in general public infrastructure, so that we can really design energy around real human needs. Thank you, Arnaud. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you very much, Nicole. It's really eye-opening to have your description of the ground, both from the policy side, but also of the operational challenges that you see as you are implementing the projects. I must add, you and the UNDP team, but also all the other communities are doing wonderful work here. So in my eyes, you are really a development hero. So well done. And let's now turn towards the second round of questions that we will asking our panelists. I assume we are running slightly over time, so I would like to keep us to 3 minutes answers if possible. Thank you. Mr. Kim, the Korea Energy Agency has developed advanced diagnostic tools, as you were mentioning, to help industries and buildings reduce consumption. From your experience, what low-cost, high-impact efficiency measures could be realistically adopted in partner countries to improve affordability and accelerate progress toward SDG 7? Over to you, Mr. Kim.
So in order to implement SDG 7 and in order to reduce energy cost in developing countries, they have been carrying out many projects, and based on my experience, I can say that our Vietnam project that started in October 2022 was quite successful. So that was the project of promoting energy efficiency investment market in the industrial sector and supporting the National Green Growth Action Plan of Vietnam. So the project will end at the end of this year, and we have dispatched 2 staff members there in Hanoi. And the main components of the project include supporting the identification and development of energy efficiency investment projects and assisting local companies with loan and investment applications, and strengthening the capacity of local institutions to conduct energy audits in Vietnam. So in order to do that, to identify promising project opportunities, we have conducted 20 detailed energy audits, and based on these audits, we have carried out 10 pre-feasibility studies and 5 full feasibility studies for potential energy efficiency investment projects. Ultimately, we expect to support 3 to 5 industrial energy efficiency projects in submitting their final investment and financing applications. We have also updated and modernized Vietnam's technical training curriculum for energy audit professionals as part of our capacity building program for local energy auditors. In addition, we organized training and study visits for key stakeholders, including local audit institutions, government officials, industries, and financial organizations, to introduce the latest energy-saving technologies as well as current policy and regulatory frameworks. So that is how we are working with other countries. And let me briefly touch upon the low-cost, high-impact efficiency measures. In many developing countries, industrial and building facilities are aging, and the problem is that they do not have well-developed technologies, and they also have lack of motivation for improvements. In many developing countries, industrial buildings facilities are aging, as I have mentioned, resulting in low efficiency and declining performance. Because there is not enough fund, they are not actively motivated to make improvements, and it is quite difficult to secure financing. So it is often challenging for businesses to voluntarily implement upgrades, even when they are needed, and they do not have enough experiences in audit and do not have much record of making improvements. So they do need outside experts. So what we are trying to do is to help those countries improve energy efficiency and provide them with many other options that enhance energy self-sufficiency, such as solar PV systems or combined heat and power units. And in addition, the identified measures need to be backed by active investment support to ensure they can be implemented. This includes securing dedicated funding for ESCOs, offering low-interest loans, and providing subsidies. In developing countries, it is especially important to design projects that gain community acceptance and create mutual benefits for local residents. So, in those countries, we are working with the local communities to reduce pollutions, and also in rural areas of developing countries, we can easily find agriculture residues that can be turned into biomass. And if we can effectively and efficiently use the biomass to generate electricity, it will be of great help to achieve self-sufficiency in those areas. What is important here is that create a favorable environment so that the local community can welcome those biomass power plants. And for investors, the sale of electricity offers a stable and sustainable revenue stream, ensuring long-term business viability. And projects of this nature are generally well received in developing countries, and governments are likely to provide strong institutional support. And also, I believe that we need to have a solid institutions, and we also need well-designed training and education programs. Local auditors who receive know-how from supporting countries can, in the long term, grow into experts who will lead energy efficiency improvements in their own countries. I also would like to emphasize the importance of promoting high-efficiency equipment. Key utility systems that consume large amounts of electricity, such as lighting, air compressors, pumps, freezers, motors, and heat pumps, are now available in highly efficient models. Once these systems are replaced with high-efficiency alternatives, energy savings continue throughout their entire lifespan. Therefore, I believe that programs supporting the replacement of those outdated equipment with high-efficiency models should be actively expanded. And from a policy and institutional perspective, developing countries should establish stable and sustainable funding mechanisms similar to Korea's Energy Efficiency Improvement Fund or the Electricity Industry Infrastructure Fund to support energy efficiency initiatives. Securing such financial resources can significantly lower interest rates for ESCO projects and help activate the energy efficiency market, especially in the early stages. And lastly, let me talk about what we're doing in Korea. Efforts are underway to expand a voluntary energy efficiency agreement, and the energy audit has been a mandate up until now, but I believe that in the near term, it will turn into a voluntary initiative. And in order to ensure that those systems become a voluntary movement, we need to work more on increasing energy efficiency, and also the AI is very important. AI will accelerate the rate of energy efficiency improvement. I believe that renewable energies, energy transition are very important in achieving SDG 7. But in my opinion, what is more important is to increase energy efficiency and to achieve energy self-sufficiency. So those are my thoughts on this issue. Thank you.
Mr. Kim, and also introducing us to the programs that you are leading in Vietnam, also for the in-depth look on reaching to the local communities and helping them achieve self-sufficiency, and also excited to hear more about the voluntary energy efficiency agreement that you just mentioned that will come to be implemented next year. Professor Chung, I'm turning towards you. Let's try to make it 3 minutes because I think we are running slightly late. You have a long experience of working with the Global South, and you have supported many projects on climate change and energy. What would be some of the key recommendations to help low and middle income countries get access to finance and improve local capacities to implement a successful energy transition? Over to you, Professor.
Right. Thank you. That's a very important question that we can share to how to answer on. In the first part, I said that it's going to be very important, even at the Korean government level, we should have a very well coordinated policy, right? And targeting at specific issue areas. I think at this time that, as I understand, that all these related activities by individual organizations and the government bodies are all great, but they are not well coordinated. So there is a big issue, challenge of how to make contributions to implement NDCs. So at the Korean government level, we have to address that. Several solutions may include introduction of the new legislations to cover this that I promoted to Minister of Foreign Affairs for a long time, changing the government organizational structure as well, and also to UNDP. I understand the UNDP is an implementation-focused organization, but all these issues on energy and climate, there are so many new issue areas. So UNDP also needs to secure some of the window to share analytical, activities, not only just implementing existing techniques and solutions, but the UNDP teamed up with, say, Korean government to find out the new way of dealing with by implementing NDCs together. Right, so I understand that that's what we needed. Regarding the specific questions that Arnaud you just posed, from my personal experience, I have some experience in helping governments in developing world and Republic of Korea to team up to address energy and climate change issues. Earlier, I helped the government of Korea to conclude a bilateral treaty on climate change issues with the government of Gabon. And also, I helped the government of Ethiopia actually to ultimately get $10 million funding to address the land-based solutions to address climate change. Recently, I'm working communicate together with governments of the Guatemala, Honduras, and then others. And then whenever I made something or I feel like I can help, at least lowest level is ministers. because they have a very important, highest level of the political will. We have to address climate change, and this is important. We need to have a financing. We need to build the capacity. Unless you have a highest level of the key partners, actually, who can drive all these very difficult and coordination-related issues, so you cannot achieve the goal. So I think securing the political will is one of the key points in every developing countries, especially if you are willing to work together with Republic of Korea and the UNDP. So financing and others, once you have highest level political will secured, then next you have to demonstrate it at the international level. Right? Otherwise, Republic of Korean government may not know what you are thinking about. One of the good examples is that the reason why I helped the government of Ethiopia before was because Ethiopia was one of the early members of one of the organizations in Korea where I helped to establish for Republic of Korea. So I knew that they were active and they were constantly make a lot of voices in UNFC negotiations. So they secured their good images at the international level. In case of Gabon, if you know some of about the forest sector, Gabon is one of the single country in the world which overachieved the NDC target in dealing with the forest sector. So they are very active in international scene. So securing domestically highest level of political will, which will ensure the good coordination capacity at the national level. Also, it needs to be active at the international scene, in international climate and energy diplomacy, in other words, right? So these are the key points. Of course, there are more. And then thinking about what the Korean government, the UNDP needs to prepare at the sort of the donor side, and then we can build a good community of the work in ensuring the good energy access to developing countries. Because I only have 3 minutes, so I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Jeong, and well noted on your call for better coordination. And also on your experience about working with other countries. Let me also add that UNDP, with its global network, is present in many countries. But we are not only an implementation agency, we also help with our colleagues in New York. We have a policy team that works on identifying and advising many governments in the world about their climate, their energy objectives. So this is what our colleague Riad Meddeb showed earlier in his presentation today. So now let me turn toward you, Mr. Park, for our second round of questions. So KEPCO has taken significant steps to implement projects related with Article 6 of Paris Agreement, as well as other projects. And as Professor Chung was saying, Paris Agreement Article 6 is a critical tool to untap finance and conduct international transfer of medication outcomes, what we call ITMOs. So based on the different projects that you are leading at KEPCO, could you please provide some recommendations to similar partners who would also like to conduct projects in this vein? Over to you, Dr. Park.
So in order to energy efficiency, we need to do a lot of things, and achieving energy efficiency directly contributes to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Energy efficiency within the power grid can be done within a smart grid. So if you can build smart grid, it means you need less power plants, and you can also reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So what is the essence of a smart grid? There are many multiple technologies. So advanced metering infrastructure that does remote metering is essential as part of our smart grid. And with AMID, demand response, outage management, and loss reduction through the technical solutions and management of distributed resources all become possible. At KEPCO, we are working a lot to build a smart grid based on AMI solution. But unfortunately, AMI is a high-cost system, and in Korea, remote metering costs 2 times more than personnel metering, and it also requires a lot of investment. In order for AMI to be built in developing countries, we need carefully defined policies, and we also need financial support. Otherwise, it wouldn't be meaningful to do that. So those individual houses and the low voltage can wait for some time, and this AMI solution can be first provided to high energy consuming facilities. And we have built 20 million AMI installations since initiating the program in 2008. So AMI is flourishing here in Korea, and what we need to do is to have data, and we also need IoT power line communication technology, and we also need AMI meters that has a very high level of security. And in order to AMI to properly function, we need softwares. And what is good about AMI software is it is independent of any specific manufacturers. At first, we started with a certain manufacturer, but whenever there is a problem, we always had to communicate with the manufacturer, and it delayed our response to those errors. So we developed our own software that can be embedded in AMI solution. So those standard software that goes into AMI will be provided free of charge to developing countries with the help of IDB and ADB. And UNDP, if you give us the opportunity to provide those software to other developing countries, then we are more than happy to work with you in the future. Well, thank you.
Much, Mr. Park, and well noted on your suggestion to collaborate further. We are really excited about the advanced metering infrastructure that you just present, and it's also a good point that it's not only about offer and supply of electricity or energy, but demand is crucial to achieve SDG 7 and also the climate targets behind them. And more should be done to develop a demand-driven policy in the energy sector. Now, let me turn towards you, Nicole, and I'd like to ask you about procurement. How can procurement shift from a technical process to a catalyst for clean energy innovation in crisis settings? Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Arnaud. And I'm really glad that the other experts and the panelists, you have mentioned demand, because procurement is where, as UNDP, we kind of create the supply in the market. And especially in a crisis setting, procurement is actually, I would say, one of the most powerful tools for shaping markets and accelerating SDG 7s, because often procurement is seen as a very straightforward process. We request, we buy, and then we supply, delivery, the equipment, it's on the ground, finished, that's it. But actually, procurement decides what is being put into the market, what kind of qualities and standards are acceptable, how the private sector should react, and what sort of supply that should enter the market, essentially. So simply said, what we ask is what we get. So as part of UNDP procurement tenders, we do request for clean energy. We mentioned specifications, as mentioned earlier, energy efficiency standards, what's the durability, and also, for example, hopefully we'll get to the IoT, the AMI standards in Afghanistan in the future, but this SDG 7 is not just in crisis settings, it's a global initiative, and we all should make our part into this achieving SDG goals. And another example, like today's event, it's a sustainable event. And I'm sure it's because UNDP put in the procurement request that, no papers is allowed, everything is sustainable, digital, and that is when UNDP and other UN agencies create this sort of market, the supply and the market responds. And even in fragile settings, this signal market does respond to it because procurement opportunities leads to supply revenue, to economic growth, and this is basically livelihoods. And Afghans, trust me, are very good entrepreneurs. So if we ask, they will make it happen. Another thing is procurement can also support the partnerships and promote gender inclusion. I just wanted to highlight this. As mentioned earlier about the examples, the greenhouses, the solar food preservation units, and also the facilities that we are solarizing. In our contracts as UNDP through procurement, we built in that if the supplier is an international company, which most likely, in most cases that is the case, they have to have a local partner so that we build the local partner's capacity and we also offer technical training. So as panels also mentioned, in developing countries, the local partner's capacity is limited and we cannot always rely on external experts and companies and external forces. We, as local actors, have to build up our capacity as well. This also has another clause that we build in on our contracts in UNDP Afghanistan as well, is to hire women in the community to train other women in the community in operation and maintenance and on the technical side of things. And this is especially critical and significant in Afghanistan, where we advocate and through procurement, we build gender equality and capacity and also local ownership. And last but not least, I would like to say that UNDP procurement is one of the best public procurement practices in the field. So through our transparent, fair, and with integrity procurement processes and using e-tendering platforms like our ERP system, Quantum, it creates this demand in the market and it gives suppliers and private sector market confidence that reduces risks and hopefully brings in, and actually we do see that it brings in regional innovators and private sector companies, bigger companies that usually would not have entered fragile markets like Afghanistan. So that's, I would say, my 2 cents on why procurement can be a critical factor in achieving clean energy transition and achievement. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. So the next part of our panel will be devoted to me challenging you, or the four of you, by asking you one key policy recommendations that you would like to keep from your answers today, or that you might want to add to your answers to you. So you have 30 seconds, and over to you, Mr. Kim.
Yeah.
What is most important is that energy transition and energy efficiency projects needs to be expanded in developing countries. We can provide physical, financial support, but we can also work with those developing countries by providing education and training so that they can carry on those projects. And we also need to refer to many success cases that has been done by developed countries. So with those experiences, we can go very a lot.
If you ask me to provide just one sentence policy recommendation, I would say build a unilateral cooperation mechanism led by the government of the Republic of Korea and UNDP, and potentially active partner developing countries to implement NDC of the Paris Agreement through the promoting the Article 6 mechanisms. That's my policy recommendation.
Thank you so much. Mr. Park, over to you.
예, 앞서 김기란 팀장
As has been said by Mr. Kim, I think capacity building comes first. Technical assistance and financial assistance can be done by UNDP and other international financial organizations, but without capacity building, it wouldn't be possible for developing countries to come up with any feasible projects. So ESS and financially, environmentally friendly smart grid have been built in developing countries, in Ecuador particularly. We built it there, but operating those facilities should be done by Ecuador entities, and if they do not properly manage the facilities, there could be complaints coming from the customers. So I think the capacity building is most important. Even if they do have facilities, if they do not have capacity, it would be of no use.
Nicole, do you want to provide us with one sentence recommendation?
Yes, and it's my turn. So back to procurement. I would say to treat procurement as a strategic tool, not just as paperwork, so that we ensure that every dollar spent and every won spent on energy access also builds local markets, builds capacity, and also long-term resilience, sustainability, and livelihoods of the people. Lastly, I just want to say 감사합니다 to Republic of Korea for funding this very important initiative for UNDP Afghanistan and other countries across the world through UNDP.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I also would like to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions, but we are way behind time, so maybe only one or two questions. Do we have any volunteers to ask questions? Okay, Kil-Hwan.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Kil-Hwan Samarasinghe from GGGI, from Sri Lanka as well. Before joining GGI, I work in Asian Development Bank and Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority. It's great to hear from Director Sustainable Energy Hub and Director from Policy Center and Professor from Korea University. So I was thinking last couple of months how we can strengthen Korea Article 6 cooperation together with other developing countries in the region. Because if Korea can provide some money to reduce or cover the capex of renewable energy efficiency project, we can definitely reduce the cost of electricity, and we can share the benefit with the community, because everyone trying to have reliable, affordable electricity and secure electricity as well. So one of the important question to procurement, how we can go with the tender, because regulator want to have competitive bidding and get the lowest price. So when it's come to carbon market, we put some money, or we cover the capex, maybe share. So how we can select the bid, open the bid, and give the contract to the developer. So my question to the procurement specialist, over to you.
Is there any a second question in the room? I see one person on the left.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chung Choi from the Korea University ASEAN Center. I have a very, very short question. I'm very worried about some LDC countries after handover this kind of some climate diplomacy or some climate new technology go there. After handover, it's not working. And then maybe need to have some kind of systematic measures. So, for example, might have some kind of the insurance system like so many cases I have been seeing in East Timor, Timor-Leste case. So the new technology go preventing some pollutions. That's great things, but systematically is cultivated as cannot solving themselves. International action need to be sure. So how you can prepare it? I have some question to Pragyajan 선생님, Pragyajan 선생님, and also maybe from the UNDP.
My question goes to Mr. Park.
And let's maybe have Nicole first on the procurement question from Kil-Hwan from GTGI. Over to you, Nicole.
Yes, thank you, Kil-Hwan. I love that there's a procurement question. That shows how important a strategic procurement is, right, in achieving SDGs and also specifically SDG 7. I would say, and as you mentioned exactly, there's one of the common issues that procurement gets is always we're choosing the technically compliant but lowest price bid. That doesn't necessarily mean is the most high-end technology, or it doesn't mean that the quality is the best. So going back to the point, I would say what we ask is what we get. When when you're designing the requirements, and this is when we need to engage with experts in this technical field, right, to ensure that we are putting the standardized specifications and the requirements. We're also putting, for example, minimum efficiency, recyclable materials, energy efficiency systems, all of this into our requirements in the procurement process, so that once we advertise, and also we're asking for something that is in line with the market, right? If we're asking for something super high-end in Afghanistan, that would definitely not work. So all of these factors combined, that would help, I hope, shape your procurement process, and you will be able to select the most top quality and most sustainable tender and partner that you will collaborate for the project. I hope that answered your question. And of course, I'm happy to communicate with colleagues after this session.
And for the second question, maybe Mr. Park.
예, 질문 감사합니다.
Well, thank you very much for the question. Even though it is a good technology, the maintenance of the technology is sometimes quite difficult in developing countries, and you ask for solutions for that issue. So I would like to make some recommendations. So when you select items, you need to select the technologies that the developing countries require, and plus you also need to have a capacity building program at the same time. And also, if you want to build a robust system, then it's going to be more environmentally friendly. Inverter PCS and environmental software that is embedded in a smart grid, if they go out of order, even if they go out of order, there is a backup equipment, backup system that can always fall back on the traditional electricity generating mechanism. So that could be one solution. And the pre-feasibility study needs to be carried out in order to prevent potential issues. While conducting various ODA projects, we always have had capacity building training and programs as part of our project so that they could eventually achieve self-sufficiency and stand on their feet. Thank you.
Mr. Park, for your answer. So with this, I think we will have to wrap up the first panel because there is a second panel coming up. Let me allow you to thank one last time our 4 panelists. Big thanks for your time today. And now over to you, Hyun-So, for the opening of the second panel. Please join me in giving our panelists a warm round of applause.
With this, we will conclude session 1. We would like to express our gratitude to Mr. Arnaud Debauge and all the speakers for their valuable insights, as well as to all the participants for their attentive listening. We'll now proceed with panel 2, Energy and Gender Equality, Pathways Toward an Inclusive Transition. This session will explore how energy access serves as a key driver of women's empowerment and how the benefits of the energy transition can be equitably shared with women and vulnerable groups. The moderator for panel 2 is Ms. Soojin Jeong, policy analyst at the UNDP Seoul Policy Center. With extensive experience in development cooperation, gender equality, and sustainability, she will guide today's discussion with our distinguished guest as we examine strategies to strengthen gender equality and social inclusions in energy transitions. Let us now begin panel 2. Let's also have our panelists come to the stage. Ms. Minyoung, Associate Research Fellow at the Korea Energy Economic Institute, Ms. Hyun, Researcher at the Energy Transition Forum, Korea, Ms. Divya Gaur, Program Lead at the Council on Energy, Environment, and Water, joining us online, and Mr. Pragyajan Yalamber, Portfolio Manager for Resilience and Environment at UNDP Nepal, also joining us online. With this, we will conclude. We'll continue on to session 2.
Thank you, MC. Dear colleagues and distinguished guests, my name is Soojin Jeong, police analyst at the UNDP Seoul Police Center. It's an honor to be a moderator today. As we mark 10 years since adoption of SDG 7, we are reminded that clean and affordable energy is not only a technical issue, it's a fundamental issue of equity, opportunity, and empowerment. Around the world, women's access to energy affects their livelihood, their safety, their health, and their economic participation. Ensuring that energy transition are gender responsive and inclusive is essential for achieving just and sustainable future. I'm excited to explore this topic with our distinguished panelists. Dr. Minyoung, Associate Research Fellow from the Korea Energy Economy Institute, who is specializing in international energy cooperation and ODA strategies. Ms. Hyun, researcher from the Energy Transition Forum Korea, who is a representative of civil society, and she is leading on renewable energy and community participation projects. Now we have some partner countries' participation. Ms. Divya Gaur, program lead at the Council on Energy, Environment, and Water, who is joining us online from India. Ms. Divya is connecting gender-inclusive entrepreneurship with clean energy access in India. And last but not least, Mr. Pragyajan Yalamber, who is a portfolio manager, resilience and environment pillar from the UNDP Nepal. UNDP Nepal is advancing decentralized energy access and resilience programs in rural and mountain communities. Thank you all for joining us. Without further ado, we will now begin our first round of questions. Dr. Suh, as you are an expert on international cooperation, energy, and energy ODA in Korea, I understand the Republic of Korea Energy ODA has supported a lot energy transition and social inclusion. And I would like to hear your thinking about which elements of Korea ODA approach are most relevant for strengthening women's access to energy transition and promoting gender responsive policies. Okay,
Thank you, Chair. Let me speak in Korean, so please your receiver. 감사합니다. 질문.
Well, thank you very much. And let me briefly give an answer to your question. The strategies of Korea's energy ODA and how it is affecting social inclusion and how it can enhance women's participation in energy sector. That was the essence of your question. Through energy ODA, Korea has been helping developing countries. Let me give you a few numbers. In 2023, the amount of ODA, Korea's ODA is ranked 9th. But when it comes to energy ODA, Korea is on the 5th ranks. This means that of all the ODA projects, ODA is one of the most important subject for Korea. This demonstrates that the energy sector constitutes a significant portion of Korea's overall ODA strategy, and also our strategy is promoting climate-aligned models. And those countries that are focusing on energy ODA are Germany, Japan, the US, and France. And let me give an overview of Korea's ODA strategies. So we've been making trial and errors, and we are now beginning to clarify or identify our own paths. As has been mentioned in the previous panel discussion session, energy infrastructure and distribution are the areas that we've been focusing on. But gender inclusiveness was one of the most important considerations when we were promoting those objectives. I don't know, I'm not sure. So promoting gender inclusiveness while we do ODA project in developing countries should be the future direction for Korea's ODA projects. So in the past, we have been focusing on technology or capacity building, but from now on, we have to think about women's energy access. Many partner countries face not only energy shortages, but also a combination of challenges in agriculture, productivity, health, sanitation, education, transport, and climate vulnerabilities. So this is why we need to combine energy with something else, like energy with agriculture, energy plus education, energy plus education, and also energy plus women. So if we combine energy, sanitation, and women, it means that we need to provide electricity 24 hours, 7 days to maternity health centers and to maternity weight room. And if energy is combined with education, then it means that girls have more access to evening studies and digital learning. And also, there is a possibility of connecting energy plus clean cooking projects, which means that women can earn incomes through clean cooking related projects. The G20 Energy Working Group and IEA African Clean Cooking Summits were all talking about those clean cooking related health, time, poverty, and economic activities issues. And also, we also need to have our projects that leverage our comparative advantages. Korea is very strong in terms of energy and climate-related technologies. Plus that we need to implement gender-inclusive ODAs. Also, we need to have a tariff system that considers women, that considers vulnerable communities. And also, we need to implement a small-scale renewable energy and mini-grid models. There are also other things that we can do to promote gender equality by providing ICT smart grid technologies. Governance is also important in demand response. The Ministries of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Industries and KOICA are all working to this end. So there are a lot of multi-stakeholders and multiple actors. So the participation of multiple actors is good when conducting a project, but the problem is there could be a shortage, or there could be less than enough connections or coordination. Also, we need the participation of women organizations from the beginning. So the women and local communities should be allowed to participate in a new project from the designing stage. Also, we need a dedicated personnel who can oversee the entire project from start to the end. So, in summary, Korea's key approaches to supporting women's energy access and strengthening gender-responsive energy policies in developing countries can be grouped into three main pillars. First is integrated energy plus multi-sector plus gender programs. And second is infrastructure, institutional, and capacity-building support that leverages Korea's comparative advantages. And third is demand-driven governance involving multiple ministries, research institutes, and private sector partners and local communities. These approaches align closely with global trend and where Korea can excel.
Thank you for outlining the three key approaches within Korea's ODA that help the gender responsive energy transition. I understand the integrated energy and other sectors which affect to the benefit women, and a combined package of infrastructure and policies and demand-driven multi-stakeholder governance approach. I understand this is really important to set up from the beginning so that the partner country can achieve the sustainable future for energy transition in aligning with the gender responsibility. Now I move to the Miss Hyun. You are representing civil society. Civil society plays a critical role in ensuring that energy transition empower women and marginalized groups. From your experience as a representative of civil society, what approaches help women participate meaningfully in decision-making around renewable energy projects?
Hello, thank you for having me today, and I want to ask for your understanding for my using of my mother tongue, Korean, to deliver more precisely. And before going on to my speaking, I think I have to explain my organization, which is Energy Transition Forum Korea, because maybe many people may not know about our organization. So Energy Transition Forum is trying to make a policy suggestion to Korean government, and we are trying to engage with local communities to find out more adaptive way for energy transition policies. So I think my remarks mostly based on Korean context, but I hope my remarks can make helpful suggestion in the context of ODA and developing countries. Okay, and I'm gonna go to my speaking in Korean.
So I have worked about 4 years in civil society organization. I believe that in Korea, In the energy sector, we are seeing an increase in women's participation. The civil society itself is growing. Over the past 10 years in Korean society, civil society organizations' roles and their sizes have increased substantially. And as many of you will understand, the civil society sector, and in particular the climate sector, is where women are very highly participating. So advocacy and energy policy recommendations is an area where we see actual and substantial growth in participation in women, and it is also giving me much satisfaction. So in Energy Transition Forum, of the 11 permanent employees, 9 are women. And a similar organization with a similar history and similar missions also have almost 60 to 70% women. And I would say that not only the full-time activists, but the leadership, the directors, and also many of Korean CSOs have joint or shared heads or leadership, and quite a lot, about more than half of the leadership and the board is made of women. And I believe that the growth of civil society in Korea is promoting the meaningful participation of women, and it also raises expectations for positive change in the future. And I believe that this change was not due to some institutional triggers, but more because of a societal change. Because in the past, the energy sector hadn't been for a long while dealt with widely by CSOs, because technology was placed much emphasis on. And so the energy sector was very much involved with technology experts, and KEPCO and other power generation SOEs are mostly dominating the conversation in energy sector. So that might have been a reason why women were not very involved in the energy sector in the past. But more recently, the importance of energy transition is being highlighted because of the climate crisis, and many civil society organizations have developed that deal with energy transition, and that also led to more participation of women. But not only the fact that the civil society has developed and grown, but there were other factors that helped women's participation to increase. There are more sources of resources for civil society organizations, and also they are active in more diverse ways. And the culture and the organizational policies, I believe, in Korea are more family-oriented and more women-friendly. In the past, the CSOs have been mostly operating on donations of citizens. However, more recently, we are seeing more support, financial support from foundations and so on. So we see that there is a growth in more jobs with stable income, and more types of activism and strategies are being employed. So policies research is taking place, policy recommendations are being made, partnership with media is taking place, and social media influencers are also becoming our partners. So very creative and diverse attempts are being made. And I believe that this has led to more interest among young women in civil society organization activism. And the CSOs, particularly those that deal with energy issues, are mostly newer and younger organizations, and even the organizations with longer history are mostly of small size. So it's rather easy to build new policy, organizational policy and organizational culture. So again, it's a favorable environment to building a women-friendly and family-friendly climate. And also the leaders of these CSOs place much emphasis on the importance of family regardless of their own gender. So there was societal change and also changes surrounding the landscape of CSOs, and this has led to meaningful change in Korean society. So these CSOs are not really active regarding gender issues, but as the civil society itself grows and many different attempts are being made, I believe that there will be more avenues and foundations for gender-related activity in terms or in the context of climate and energy activism. So I believe that more actors and more diverse attempts should be promoted. And this will lead to more women's participation and also give more career development opportunities for women.
Grounded inside. So I understand you pointed out two important key approach and the enablers to increase the gender's women's participation in the energy sector. The first one is the diversified engagement channels from policy advocacy to community dialogue that allow women to contribute to in multiple ways. And I understand that the second one is a family-friendly organization culture that create women's more opportunity working for the energy sector. So now that we have heard Korea's perspectives, let's turn to our partner country. Ms. Gaur, can you hear us clearly from India? Thank you. So Ms. Gaur, thank you for joining us so early in the morning from the India. As I understand, you are working for the gender-inclusive entrepreneurship with clean energy access in India. So women entrepreneurs and workers in many countries still face barriers entering and benefiting from the energy sector. Based on your experience, what are the most significant challenges preventing women's participation in energy value chains, and what action can help address these barriers?
Thank you so much. I hope you're able to hear me on the other side.
Yes, we can hear it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and a very good morning to all of you. It was heartening to see the changes or the uptake of energy transition related work among women in Korea. In India, while of course the women participation is increasing, we've also seen through our work that we do at the council in the program called Powering Livelihoods, where we are mainstreaming decentralized productive use of renewable energy. So it's called Decentralized Renewable Energy for Livelihoods here in India. And as a part of the program, we are incubating or supporting startups which are creating or manufacturing innovative solutions in decentralized renewable energy livelihoods. And there we see that there is a dearth of women participation at all levels. So in our cohort, there is only one woman-led startup out of 20 startups that we support. So there we have the missing or the gap in women participation in the energy enterprises or clean energy enterprises. What we also see is that in the workforce or in the teams of these startups, there are very few women in leadership roles or in technical roles. And this also goes with the global statistics that we have, that participation of women in renewable energy has been less than 1/3, about 32%, and has remained stagnant in these years. So in terms of barriers that hinder the participation of women at all levels, which is at the enterprise level, at the startup level, even in terms of the users of these productive applications. For example, user of a solar dryer or a solar-powered micro-irrigation pump. There are barriers with respect to skill and talent. So what we have seen here in India that while up to 30% of women end up being in STEM, science, technology related courses. However, only 10 to 12% enter the workforce in STEM related jobs. So there is a gap in terms of talent that is available in the energy sector. And so the startups or the organizations in the energy sector are not able to hire women in technical roles as well as in leadership role. So that is one challenge that we have seen, and we call this phenomena leaky pipeline, whereas women are studying these courses, although in smaller proportions, but they do not end up being the part of the workforce. And that happens because of the infrastructural barriers that exist. So still there is the spaces in energy sectors are male dominated. There is a lot of site work, and so very often we do not have proper infrastructure at the last mile. We do not have separate washrooms. We do not have proper commuting facilities, and which also prevents women from participating in the sector. So these are some of the infrastructure barriers. Also, in our work with the startups, what we found is that there are no gender-inclusive policies. There are no gender-inclusive job descriptions. They do not encourage that women should apply. And so that is what we worked with them on, that we help them design these gender-inclusive policies, we help them design these gender-inclusive job descriptions to cater to the barriers, at least at the entry-level point. Now coming to the ecosystem barriers, finance, so if we want to bring in more and more women, and startups need patient capital. You want to bring in women, you want to train them, you want to incentivize them enough to stay and be a part of the system. And so for that, we require a lot of patient capital for promoting women in the sector, which is often missing. If you see today, less than 5% of women-led startups receive funding. Majority is going to male-led startups. So that funding, that patient capital, because there are infrastructure barriers, there are ecosystem barriers, and then there are social barriers as well, which are related to mindset barriers. They're hesitant to come to the sector, they're hesitant to adopt a technology or to get into technical roles. So all of those shifts take a lot of time, and therefore, patient funding is very, very important to see the outcomes changing in 3 to 5 years. It will not happen in 1 year. It will not happen in 2 years. It often takes 5 years. Apart from that, what we have seen as a part of the work that we do is that the products that are being designed, so our startups design technologies to promote livelihoods in rural areas. So for example, there is a startup that's created a hydroponic fodder unit, which is powered by solar, which is a soilless technology and caters to the problem of shortage of green fodder in rural areas to feed the livestock. So the design of the technology was such that the height was not appropriate for a female livestock farmer to use it, or the weight of the technology is not appropriate enough for a female to be able to move the technology by themselves. So we also see that the way product is being designed, it has to be inclusive in nature. So to sum up, there are barriers at all levels. One is the skill barrier. Another is the Another is the ecosystem barrier, which is more related to financing barrier. We need a lot more capital, and that to patient capital. And a lot of work needs to also happen on the behavioral aspects, because we see there are social barriers and also psychological barriers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaur. So I understand you highlighted that women face challenges across the value chains, the enterprise, user, and ecosystem levels, and you stress that gender-responsive practices, community engagement, and stronger financing system are essential to overcoming them. Now we turning to Nepal. Mr. Rai, can you hear us well online?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Perfect. We can hear you well as well. Thank you for joining us online from Nepal early morning as well. So I understand UNDP Nepal has worked extensively on decentralized energy access and clean cooking in rural and mountain communities. Could you share a case where improved energy access has had a transformative impact on women's livelihood, safety, or economic participation?
Thank you so much. First, I think I really want to appreciate for inviting us to this discussion. Let me take this opportunity to share Nepal's experience, particularly UNDP's experience in the energy transition work. For UNDP Nepal office, I think the energy work has been sort of an ongoing for the past more than 30 years. If you look at the energy scenario within the country, the transition, the growth, the electrification, the installed capacity of energy has significantly gone up. So at the moment, the electrification is at 99% with the energy mix of both on-grid and off-grid systems, which is very good in that sense. Our per capita sort of consumption of energy is still the lowest in this region, at 465 sort of kilowatt per hour per year. But I mean, if you look at the energy mix, the scenarios, I think we are making headways, and I think that our NDC sort of reflects this, that the energy mix ambition is that we want to transition to sort of 10 to 15%, up to 15% by 2035. The reason I'm stating this is a lot of the connectivity to access to energy is through decentralized systems. The mini hydros, the solar mini grids, these systems have played a key contributing role in connecting the most remote communities or mountain communities in Nepal. And if you look at the topography of the geographic Nepal, these systems play a crucial role. And so for us at this current juncture, what we've been doing in the past was more on focusing on energy access, giving sort of electricity access to communities. But over the past 2 years, what we are looking in line with the government's priorities, but also looking at the potential of economic opportunities that sort of electricity brings around these communities, and communities that in Karnali or Sudur Pasim, where we are very active at the moment, is for a few factors. I mean, the context is Karnali province is one of the province that has a very low human development index. Its per capita consumption is less than 100 at the moment. Most of the men or youth travel to India for seasonal work, so they're only back for a certain harvesting season or growing seasons. So that is the current scenario. So most of the people that are more active, more economically active, that are more in those areas are women and youths and children. So for us, I think our emphasis, even though you see the figure that I shared earlier, the country has 99% connectivity, but these connectivity are unstable and sort of unreliable as well. So what our emphasis has been is we need to promote renewable energy systems or technologies or this sort of off-grid sort of systems that is able to produce reliable, stable energy that can give economic opportunities to the women and youths in those areas. So for us, I'll just give you sort of two sort of examples that we're doing at the moment. Like I'll give you a case of Jumla, where currently with the support from ADB, we're working on, we sort of now finalized the mini hydro sort of 1 megawatt system, mini hydro system in Jumla. So which basically powers the entire Jumla district at the moment. With this energy access, the transformation or change you can see is there is a lot of demand from women and particularly women-led enterprises, particularly around sort of two. On a household level, there's a demand for electric cooking. On the more sort of commercial enterprise side, there's a demand for electric sewing, and also factories that are coming up, like bakery, noodle making. So you see these changes that are sort of transitioning at the moment. So for us, I think electric cooking at the household level has sort of significantly growth. Demand has grown really high because the Jumla is a very cold place, and so for burning, we still use traditional biomass wood. And so for most of the communities, for women especially, they spend numerous hours within their own area using the wood burning stoves, which is harmful for their health and also for the families as well. So for us, I think introducing these e-cooking systems has helped sort of not only the cooking time, but also for them to sort of spend their time with the kids, so helping them with the homework, because the dads or the men are usually abroad. They go to India for work. So for them, they've been to spend with the time with the kids, but also an opportunity to work with them. And also the other aspect is on the enterprise side, we're looking at electric sewing machines and noodle making systems. Like these are systems that recently we went for a mission and we met a woman entrepreneur called Menuka Budamagar. And so she relied on a traditional wood burning dryer for drying her noodles that she makes every day. So she spent 5 to 6 hours per day burning using the traditional biomass stove to sort of prepare her noodles. And this cost her, she used to consume around 50 tons of firewood and then spend around 18 to 20,000 per firewood used per month. So for us, I think her demand was basically that she needed some system that is able to, we can cook with less use of firewood. It would be more economical and also something that is more cost effective for her operation as well. So I think based on the discussion with her, we provided her a noodle making or a noodle drying, electric noodle drying system. So from that side, the contribution, the system cost around 85,000. She contributed 20% of the capital, and so we provided her the system. And then now I think she's paying around 8,500 rupees, Nepalese rupees per month for that system, which is she saves around about 10,000 Nepalese rupees on just the system, the transition. And also for us, the reduction of biomass, reduction of the indoor pollution is a factor that I think we sort of see contributing a lot. And we see this case even for simple electric sewing machines that we're promoting. And then this is basically their demand. Rather than using the handheld systems, manual systems, they're now changing to electric system, which gives them an opportunity to sew more clothes. Like if they were doing 50 dresses earlier, they could do a month. Now they could do around 200 dresses per month. So this has impacted significantly in terms of economic power as well, or the earning from it. So for me, I mean, just to sum it up, the reason I think we're investing, UNDP has been very strong on promoting these technologies, but also targeting the need-based sort of interventions or solutions has been crucial for our success in this region. For us, there's also an opportunity that these systems that we promote, there is an investment by the community as well, the finance portion. We don't want to make it as a grant that we provide them with the sewing machine, give them a noodle dryer on a free sort of grant basis. We want them to invest on their own as well. So for us, it's the capital investment from their end is 20 to 30%, which they're very happy to do it. The third and the last more important bit is what we felt during the recent discussions we had with them when we were there in the mission, was the ability that they feel empowered at the moment. I mean, we've seen this transition for a year, once they have the earning, even though their husbands are earning abroad, sending them the money, having the opportunity to sort of earn their own sort of resources, be able to spend, even for the kids, like if they're able to spend some amount for the kids' books or stationaries, they now feel sort of empowered that they are able to make this decision rather than wait for their husbands or their partners. So this, I think, is what I think the impact we've sort of felt. And this slowly our sort of UNDP's own ambition or sort of that we have taken globally on the moonshot targets is not only about generation, but also looking at the promotion of energy systems, and also looking at the target groups that rely or need these systems to be in place and the support that we're providing. So I'll stop here, and if there's any questions, I'll follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lai. So thank you for your introduction about the UNDP projects and sharing how energy access, especially in clean cookie and decentralized system, can improve women's time and safety. As we only have 7 minutes before the conclusion of the forum, I will briefly ask our next second round question to shorten for answering for 2 minutes. Dr. Suh, from an energy economics and policy perspective, what should partner countries prioritize when designing gender-responsive energy transition strategies? And are there specific policy tools or analytical approaches from Korea's experience that could apply elsewhere?
네, 감사합니다. 최대한
Well, I'll make my answer very, very brief. So based on your question, I can say that the gender mainstreamed energy transition strategies are important, and what are those strategies? That was the essence of your question. I think it is, to answering that question, should start with who is being excluded from energy access and in what way. That's a starting point. Across the world, about 2 billion people around the world still rely on traditional fuels and cooking methods, with more than half living in Africa. And this is affecting their health, their time poverty, and their economic activities, because most of those responsibilities fall largely on women. So in order to address this, we need to focus on energy service perspective rather than simply focusing on the power mix. We need electricity access and clean cooking access so that we can deal with those issues. We also need sex-segregated data in order to do that, and also we need to find out who is doing the cooking and how far those women and girls travel to get fuels. So we need that sort of data. And based on that data, we have to have sex-segregated data. And all this data will help us define the amount of investment that we need to make for the projects. And second, it is essential to explicitly include gender-responsive outcome in policy goals and indicators. Relying solely on metrics will not help us to clearly identify or clearly grasp the situation in those partner countries. In the official report made by G20, it is clearly written that there are still many women and vulnerable communities that are not benefiting from the energy transition and energy access. So let me briefly talk about Korean experiences. We experienced the electrification of the rural areas, and we also have invited many women to the technical and leadership roles in our project. So through those electrification projects, we successfully turned our rural areas into communities with higher than 90% electrification rate. And in those projects, women took a very critical and leadership roles. Thanks to electrification, the time they spent in household work greatly reduced, and it also expanded their access to education. And also, we need to have institutionalized analytical tools such as gender impact assessments, and all those gender inclusive tools are embedded in the process of policy decision making. And third, it is about expanding Korea's experience with scenario and model-based energy planning to incorporate a gender perspective. So we have been designing scenarios that reflect gender and income differentiated demand for electricity. Looking at Korea's experiences, you'll be able to see that expanding energy access will directly lead to heightened or better gender inclusiveness in Korea. So it needs to be combined with gender mainstreaming perspectives. So how many have access to electricity is important, but more important is how many women and girls have access to electricity and how it has changed their lives.
Gender disaggregated diagnostics, gender-specific indicator, and investment strategy align with broader social and industrial policies, and also sharing the Korea's experiences. Ms. Hyun, as I already told you, we are kind of out of the time, so I will ask you to answer the question within 2 minutes. You have worked extensively on multi-stakeholder engagement, yet women continue to face limited opportunity in the energy sector. What measure would you recommend ensuring women have equal and fair job opportunities and career pathways in the energy transition?
네. 네, 저는 여성의 사회 참여, 커리어 개발에 있어서 조금 핵심적인 것은 여성에게 다양한 선택지가 제공되고 또 그런 길을 알려주고 지원.
I believe that for women's higher participation, they should have more diverse options and opportunities. Energy transition involves many different tasks, and there needs to be new innovations and new capacities. So across all sectors, I was talking about civil society, but for industry, for technology, and for administration, and among administration, we might be talking about domestic government administration, but also work involving ODA for other countries and international governance administration like UNDP. So many of the different roles have to be fulfilled. And in this wide variety of opportunities, there should be more places for women to work, and more support should be given for women for them to benefit from those opportunities. Well, Korea is where women have much access to higher education, but for industry and technology areas, we don't see a high proportion of women working in those sectors. And because there aren't a lot of women already working in those fields, it seems like less women are choosing to work or pursue a career in that area. However, energy policy is an area that affects the entire society at a large scale, and everyone understands that. So women who are interested in climate change and energy should be able to choose more avenues to develop their academic and technological capabilities. And I also believe that the administrative sector is very important. Energy transition has to be led by the government for all countries because it requires high levels of investment at the early stages. So whether it be the government or ODA officers, everyone has to have a high level of expertise. And as for Korea, installment of energy equipment often faces a large backlash and resistance from the local communities. So administrative capability to coordinate and work and engage with that local community is very important. So those multiple avenues should have ways for women to also get involved in. And as I said, expertise is very important. And nurturing women professionals and experts will also be very important. All of this has to be supported by the following. If women, even if they want to pursue a certain career, they sometimes find themselves giving up along the way. So to prevent this from happening, there should be institutional and cultural support built in. In Korea, balance of family life and work, regardless of gender, should be ingrained into our culture. And I believe that different organizations and different fields of work would have different requirements for this to be possible. So measures for each field and organization to support balance between family life and work should be coming from within the organization and also as without.
Ms. Hyun, I want to add on your insight, building on your insight, ensuring equal and fair opportunity will also require gender responsible recruitment practices, targeted training and upskilling programs and institutional mechanisms that sustain women's leadership and expertise across the energy sector. Now we move to Ms. Gaur. You have extensive experience supporting gender-inclusive entrepreneurship. Could you share example of how the private sector in your country has supported women-led energy initiatives, or what forms of public-private collaboration could help scale gender-responsive solution? You have a 2 minute.
Thank you so much. I think most of the recommendations that have been made in the room are similar to what we are doing here in India. Private companies, they play a critical role in accelerating clean energy access. And in India, there has been concentrated focus as well on advancing women's participation. When it comes to private sector, several companies, particularly in off-grid energy access like Renew Power, even here at the Council CEW, we have strengthened commitments to gender diversity through targeted recruitment, as has been highlighted by my fellow panelists as well before, and leadership development pathways, and also supplier diversity programs. Other than that, through our program Powering Livelihoods, what we have been working towards or supporting the whole enterprise ecosystem in India has been through looking at gender disaggregated data, which has also been highlighted before, and where we set up these monitoring systems, monitoring and evaluation systems for the enterprises to measure the participation of women in leadership roles, in technical roles within their organization, and to be able to hire accordingly. Also to look at the data on how many women users or customers they have, and accordingly also target more and more women users and customers. In terms of also creating not just women as the users of these applications, but also promoters of solar energy appliances or clean energy appliances on ground. We have been supporting initiatives. So, for example, in Maharashtra, in Solapur district, which is very close to Pune, we've been supporting an initiative called Sakhi Unique Rural Enterprise. And they have created this network of more than 300 Sakhis across these multiple districts in Maharashtra, where women are promoting these solutions. They are speaking with farmers, they're talking about the viability of these solutions, why clean energy powered appliances are beneficial in terms of socio-economic impact, but also in terms of environmental impact. So promoting such networks on ground where women are at the forefront of this energy transition is also very crucial. Another thing that I wanted to share is which is very crucial, and private sector has a great role, is narrative building, which is inclusive in nature. So as a part of the program, we have been promoting gender inclusive case stories, films, sharing the impact that clean energy can have on women. Some of them have been shared by the panelists as well, in terms of income change, yes, in terms of reduction in time poverty. There is also reduction in drudgery. So for example, one of the startups that we are supporting has created a machine which promotes mechanization of silk reeling practices. So traditionally, silk reeling would happen in thigh reeling. So basically, women had to reel the silk yarn on their thigh, which will give them injury. And now with this machine, which is lightweight, which can run on solar, it has been mechanized. Women can increase their productivity by 2x, by almost twice than what they could do before. And also the drudgery has been reduced. There are no cases of physical injury anymore. So designing for women, promoting narratives which are gender inclusive in nature, also giving platforms to women entrepreneurs, both micro and nano entrepreneurs, as well as the entrepreneurs in tier 1, tier 2 cities, to share their stories, to talk about their experiences and the impact that they have had, is very impactful. Because there is also very few role models in the sector. So as you see more and more role models in the sector, more and more women would be encouraged to come and participate in the energy sector. Blended finance as a tool is also very essential. Where private sector has a lot of role to play in terms of de-risking some of the capital that is needed to bring more and more women in the sector. And as a part of the program, we have been able to do that. We have been able to deploy philanthropic capital in form of first loss default guarantee or interest subvention to make some of these products affordable for women. So because of the first loss default guarantee, now there are women in Andhra Pradesh. It's a farmer producer organization led by women. They are able to install 1,000 kg of solar dryer. They're able to dry tomatoes, lemons, etc. In the dryers, and able to earn a better income through value addition. So blended financing facilities are very important, where private sector has a very crucial role to play as well. Again, to sum up, it is about promoting gender inclusive products, understanding the needs of the women, and designing what as per the needs of the women. Also, blended financing facilities, putting in private capital there, encouraging gender first data systems or MEL systems, and also narrative building to promote more and more role models in the sector is where we see the role of the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaur, for those practical examples and valuable recommendation. As we are out of time, my last question to Mr. Rai. Looking ahead, what policy measure, financing mechanism, or community-based approaches are needed to ensure that energy access programs fully support women's empowerment? You have the 2 minutes to answer. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. For me, to keep it very brief, so on the policy side, because the current federal system in Nepal is fairly new, So for us, I think local governments currently have the sort of power to sort of take some of these measures and be sort of decentralizing the decision making, particularly looking at what benefits or what systems or technologies that they can promote within for the women and local communities. So that, I think, on the policy side, the policy, I think, measures are there. The energy planning is something that I think we've worked with the local governments within all the municipalities that we're currently engaging. They already have granting, they provide grants to communities, especially enterprises,